Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. The Extreme Studios tonight. Bless you, sir. I have RDV with me. And ladies and gentlemen, this is no sneezing matter because if you saw my tweet from earlier when I was posting tonight's extravaganza of the Last Kumite, a Kickstarter Bloodsport-inspired film that stars if you're a child of RDV, if you're like me, and you are not because you're 10 years younger at least, growing up as a kid in the 70s and the 80s, you had a jazz band in the 70s called Journey that became a pop band, and they kicked off their lead singer, keyboardist, and got some replacements. And they got this guy named Steve Perry, who's a phenomenal singer, love him to death, but they got popular because the girls loved him, and he wasn't a baritone, he was a tenor. Great song, loved the guys, all that. We have Steve Perry resurfacing now in the 60s because he'll never rejoin Journey again, and he's running the evil Kumite where the Albanians, are in charge. And I got to tell you, it just brings up this old thought, and I have to say it in public. Human trafficking, it gets such a bad rap because how else are you going to force people by kidnapping their daughters if you're a single widowed dad, to get them to fight on something? Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is the premise of tonight, starring a bunch of really nobodies or second gens. And I don't mean that in a negative way. You do have Cynthia Rothrock, you have Bolo Young's son, and you have some other people. But I will say this, RDV, in all seriousness, for Kickstarter, especially with the way things are going in comic books and movies and other fare over COVID, this is what I expect it to be, which honestly, I'll say this. It's not bad. It could have been a lot better. And the two main takeaways I have that are negative before I'll talk about the things I think are very good. One, the cameras that filmed this, when they would move from one spot to another, and I don't mean the fight scenes, but all the other stuff, they seemed like they weren't sharp enough, like it got blurry to me, at least on Tubi. That's how I saw it. But the fight scenes were different. They did the handheld camera stuff, and that was shot a lot more professionally. And the only other complaint that I would have about it is I didn't hate the guy, but the main guy in here, all 150 pounds of him soaking wet, is a charisma vacuum. I didn't hate him. But the more interesting stuff is everybody else, including Billy Blanks. I mean, this is somewhat interesting, and it's something I've never seen before. I'd only heard about it. We decided to review that tonight because of the greatness of Cynthia Rothrock. And I'm curious, you haven't seen it either. What's your initial take?
So this movie going into it is obviously, as I put on the thumbnail, it's a 2024 Kickstarter movie. So everybody knows what it is. You're going to watch this. This was Cynthia Rothrock. Started in season 2. She's got a small part 2. Billy Blanks has pretty much a big part, being a mentor to the main guy, who is Mathis Landwehr. Things about this movie: it is a Kickstarter movie, so it's low budget because they couldn't find basically a production company to do this, so they just did their own. This is German made. It's a fan film. So you're going to have German actors here. The main bad guy is a German actor who's been in a lot of 90s villains over in Germany. He doesn't have an IMDb because he wasn't never that famous. But then again, there's a lot of actors in the 90s that kind of slip through the cracks. They don't really have an IMDb page.
Sure.
But the main guy too is also, he said, I was also from Germany too, which is interesting. Is both the main bad guy is Matthias, where the main good guy is Mathis. I thought that's like, wow.
Matthias versus Mathis. Go figure.
Yeah.
Ages in round one of the Kumite.
Yes. I'll talk about what this movie got right for me before we go into the story. What got right for me, they managed to get in a lot of cool actors that were involved with Jean-Claude David crew, including Bolo Young's son, who makes an appearance in here, who looks fantastic. Looks exactly like his dad.
Jacked as fuck.
He should have been the main bad guy.
Well, look, he was only 5'6", 5'7". Yeah, this guy might be 5'8", 5'9". He looks bigger.
Instead of Wardlow Jr.
Right.
You also have Michel Qissi coming back here too, along with his brother. They're both are in this. The guys who played was it Pao Tong or Tao Pong from Kickboxer. That heavily inspired by Kickboxer, a little bit of Bloodsport mixed into it for a little comedy. But what I liked about this is they managed to get the actual composer from both those movies. The guy who worked on it got him out of retirement to score this. I'm talking about Paul Hertzog, who basically did, and he worked with also Stan Bush, who also worked on those movies. Yes. Come in. So when they're doing the fight scenes, it's very, very heavily like kickboxer. So you are getting the music that you got in with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and you get almost similar fighters too. You got to get a guy jumping around like a monkey trying to get hit, but this time he gets the upper hand on Bolo Young's son, which I thought was
capoeira style. You've got the
which I thought
the Drunken Master one.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of like, really? Because I'm like, you Bolo Youngson here. I mean, you could have made him more the bad guy, or at least one of the bigger bad
guy always gets destroyed. The only time it ever worked was the original Blade movie.
Yeah. So I said, so I'll leave that the music is great here too. I love the lighting, the camera angles. It really felt like I was back in the 80s, especially with the music in here. The only difference is you have some smartphones or some cell phones. But for the most part, the way it starts off just like, as you would get from any 80s or kickboxer or blood sport movie. We even get training here. Billy Blank's training him, which is very much kind of felt like I was watching American Ninja a little bit here.
I know, right? I know.
I was like, man, they're blending in some this canon, this fun movies, and this blending together in just one fantastic movie. I did well with that.
I'm gonna agree with you, RDV. The best thing here is the score, which is nice, the songs, but the sound or the soundtrack, excuse me, but the score, the background filler music, phenomenal. It really elevated this film. Without it would not be good.
We talked about this before. Well, when it comes to when Queen scored
Highlander,
and also scored Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon is so good.
You take away Queen. And that movie is not; those movies are not as epic.
Agreed.
The music makes the movie good. And so, with that being said, I think the music really helped this. Being a low budget and then here's the thing: they know they're low budget and it acts like a low budget movie. It's not the point where it's like you're watching like someone with a handheld phone recording. It's like, hey, no action. It's not a bunch of kids. It actually was done very professionally.
Agreed.
Now, the cons is on anything money for me. The cons for me is that as you already said, the main guy he's a charisma vacuum. It felt like because originally this movie was intended to get Scott Adkins in the lead role, but he was either busy and just or they're filming something else. We all know that he turned down the role, and we got this other guy, this German actor. So he kind of is. With the bad thing about him being in here, he really did his best to try to act like JCVD a little bit in this. And it really ruined it. I'm like, don't try to copy JCVD. Be your own character. And all you get, I know it doesn't help that you have the German accent and you speak like him. But
big. This guy's 150 pounds.
No.
He's too lean.
He even does JCVD's kick at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
it's not the final kick to take down the bad guy. It's just that after the match he wins, the bad guy gets up, so he does the roundhouse kick to kick him down.
Yep.
So here's the thing about this. This movie was you can see, once I learned it was basically wanted to get Scott Adkins. You could see the way the dialogue was written for Scott Adkins.
Right.
Yeah. So this guy was stepping in, and it just felt like, okay, this didn't really feel that well, The other thing is the bad guy. You jokingly said he looked like Steve Perry as an evil bad guy.
He is. I challenge anybody to look at this guy's face and Steve Perry and not tell me they're the same person.
Yeah, Matthias Hues, who is well, first of all, I'll just say about the main guy.
Jack German.
The main guy is known for V for Vendetta. That's what he's made.
I've not seen.
He was he's probably a stunt guy. That's probably what he was. If he was in there, he's also in Hitman Agent 47, 2015, and then he was in Speed Racer in 2008. Now I haven't watched any of those movies in probably a long time, so I'm guessing he's a small time actor, and he was probably in a few roles there, or he did stunts. Because he actually is. Now, here's the thing about this: he actually is a martial artist. So it's not. That's one thing we said about this. When we get movies like this, I don't want actors doing stunts. I want actual stuntmen in there, and I want them to be in the acting.
Yeah.
But Matthias Hues, you look at him. This guy is jacked, even to today, 2 days later. Mm-hmm. Apparently, he was in the movies No Retreat, No Surrender 2 from 1987. He was one of the. I think he's one of the bad guys. He's on the cover actually. If you look at it now, he's also in Bounty Tracker and he's also in Dark Angel TV series, 1990. So he has some credits. It's just weird that he's not on IMDb, so which was weirdly weird. So maybe he just didn't want it on his own page. Maybe they offered, or they just or they snubbed him completely.
It also depends if they're related to, like, here in America, SAG-AFTRA and all those kinds of things.
If
too,
you're not, they probably don't. Yeah, I was gonna say if you're not in any of the guilds and stuff, they're not gonna put you in there. But I always thought that IMDb was a separate page, not But if it's tied to that stuff, I can understand why now.
That's how, when you get a credit, things get submitted when you sign contracts and all that. So you always go to look to make sure that it's there.
No Retreat, No Surrender 2 also starts Cynthia Rothrock.
Yep.
And also we just reviewed the other movie with Roy Horan was the priest who was trying to hunt down the old man, the one that was the blind old man, the one that was helping Jackie Chan.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So Roy Horan's in there too, and Matthias Hues is the bad guy in there. We also had
okay.
So might be something to look into.
It's a legitimate cast. The biggest thing about professionally being done here is, there's a few shots. Some of the dubbing is a little off, but that happens. And again, for a completely low budget movie, I think they knew what they were. They didn't try to do anything more to it. I think they did the best they could with what they have. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because at the end of the day, we don't get a lot of martial arts movies. So maybe in today's environment, we give it a little bit of grace. But here's the thing. Where this movie got kind of interesting to me, and this is going to sound a little strange because it is a martial arts movie and there's plenty of it here, especially the second half's all martial arts, is obviously they kidnapped this guy's teenage French daughter, who I thought was fantastic, by the way, in her limited role. And so, of course, he offers them, hey, $1 million in the Kumite, if blah, blah, blah. He gets home. The lipstick she was putting on for the celebratory party, it's on there. We have hers. Get on the plane, simple, basic storytelling, right? So they get into the town, and I admit it. There was a fish out of water aspect that I thought they could have dove into in here, and they did it enough where the guy's like, hey, look, your cell phones don't work. You can go to town with a driver, get some supplies and all that. The final fight's going to be weak. You have a week to train, but if you try anything, the police with us and all that, everybody knows what's going on here. We'll just kill you. So he's like, I don't care what you do, but here's your rooms. Here's what's going on. So he puts them up. It was weird, right? But I like that because I like the sneaking around the castle going, hey, while we're here, we got to find our kids, because they all don't know exactly why they're there other than to fight. And there's a very thin, athletic European girl there. I'm not sure what her race is, but she did the stunt work for Wonder Woman, which is great because she probably made Gal Gadot look good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the older guy that she was talking to in there, who was like, man, I can't beat the main guy because he thinks he's gonna die, and he has that flashback with the bad guy. That was actually fucking good. That was really good to look at. I'm like, they've got like this almost like side plot here where they're looking for their daughters and almost a potential romance angle that you don't normally get. Even the lady that comes in and tends to the main guy's wounds or whatever that Billy Blanks knows was kind of interesting. It does well and it moves well.
So you're talking about Kurt McKinney, who was also in both No Retreat, No Surrender, in the first one and the second one. He also starred in movies with Cynthia Rothrock and Sworn to Justice. So you're getting these are the 90s and 80s, kind of the martial art actors he had in movies.
Cynthia's the best of the best to me. I love Michelle. Cynthia's the best. She is the gold standard to me.
Yeah. I was looking up more about some of these people in here too. It's like, you brought up Mona Malone. She plays Leo Martin here. She's the only girl in the Kumite. And it's pretty well in there. And I kept thinking, I was watching this movie, like, okay, they can make her be like a love interest because this guy's in the beginning, he only has a teenage daughter, and he's visiting his wife's grave.
Here's the thing. If it was typical martial arts, which you could argue that it is, or if it was a lot of the quick scene, shifting where you can't really watch it, it would fail.
Yeah.
I'm going to use her as an example because I don't like girl bosses. I don't like any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she's petite, but she's fit, and she's a legitimate actress, so she has that aura about her about being a tough girl in no sense. She knows how to use her body. Everybody in here does well with
she's
her body.
Tomboyish.
Exactly.
But pretty
so the one guy with the beard, the Jack dude that comes up and he's kind of like spazzing on her a little bit and all that. I've actually gone, man, I know this dude. He's done some stuff where, like, I watch the occasional Scott Adkins. He has a podcast, right? I've seen this guy do his own podcast several times because I've watched the guy's name escapes me. The Australian guy that died earlier this year that we mentioned, Richard Norton. I've seen a lot of these older guys, Superfoot Wallace, all of them, him interviewing. And I thought, okay, this guy's cool. Now he's in this movie.
Are you talking about Draco?
Not the main bad guy, the other guy that was with them that has the beard. He looks like somebody who I can't remember, but he ended up being the undercover policeman, I think, at the end.
Oh, okay. That's Kurt McKinney.
Okay, so that was interesting. But when she gets into the fight, this is when things change. Yes, we get like a drunken master. Yes, we get a capoeira guy. Yes, we get the guy doing the monkey flips. Yes, we get, the powerhouse stud here, the main bad guy who is jacked and legit.
Mm-hmm.
When she gets her fight, I'm like, come on. And she's, of course, you can't be completely realistic with these things, but we're there for the art part to it. But I was shocked at the level of some of the violent moves in these different fights because they give you a lot of them. And she does the one where she does this little spin thing and just punches the dude in his throat and he spits and sprays blood all in one shot. I'm like, you know what? That's still a shot that most people on television, martial arts, and fighting cannot get right today. And I thought, okay, I can't buy her because she's so petite, but with what happened in that moment, that's how it would have to go. It delivered. And that's the surprising thing. The most efficient part of this movie is the ending of it because Billy Blanks got really, really big and popular, and he's a legit karate dude himself. He's pushing 70. Same with Cynthia Rothrock. They're not young folks anymore. But to get out there and do what they do, even though Cynthia doesn't get physical in here, to have her as a trainer is phenomenal. This is good stuff.
I apologize. This dawned on me who this Kurt McKinney guy is. He's the main kid from Retreat No Surrender. He's the one that went against John Damon. He's the one that was obsessed with Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
That's what this is. It took me a second click. I'm like, I know he looks familiar. I'm digging more because they don't show. When you look at his stuff, they didn't show his face at all. And I was looking. I'm like looking more, and Allison is like, dude, this actually is the main kid. Because it dawned me because he would be this age by now, and like I said, like he's still in shape, able to still do some of the fight moves. Yeah. Like I said, this was actually they had a nice casting here too. Now some people say, "Oh, it's a bunch of has-beens, nobodies. No one ever cared about blah blah. Why should I watch it?" You don't have to watch it, but I'll say this: it's not a bad movie, and that's like I said. I think it's worth watching. That's why I put in a little thumbnail. Is it worth watching? Yes, it is worth watching.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah,
and you mentioned something earlier about with the music when it was playing. You feel like this is an 80s type of movie because one, it's not single mom girl boss, right?
No.
It's a guy whose mom's died. He's training his daughter. She's fine. They're respectful. They have a little bonding moment at the beginning. This is what we want. We want to see positive people doing things. He has to go save her, so he's got to fight in the Kumite. He doesn't want to kill anybody, but he's basically going to believe that the last person who wins $1 million is going to have to kill it. They don't go too deep into the plot, but all of them there do have a sense of, wow, we're kind of fucked, we're going to end up having to fight each other. And they do show them training and a lot of montages, making comments. And I got to tell you, I was starting to have fun with Billy Blanks because at first when we see him, we don't see him because there's a janitor swooping in the back and the one guy's like, man, how can we beat the bad guy? And he's like, I know somebody who will, who knows somebody who's fought him and wouldn't. Who? And he points to him and he's like, and it's Billy Blanks. And I'm like, yes, because he's older now. And he looked like he's put on weight. But he was always a wide body kind of guy, very, very big and fit, not a lean dude. And so when he starts training him and stuff, he just makes comments. I'm like, yeah, he was starting to feel it. And then when everyone's reacting, when there was the big punches in the different fights where you're like, ooh, and all that. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting into this a little bit because, the budget you can say is very low. But it's professionally done, and I'll tell you, the last 30 minutes or so gives you the majority of fights. They don't go on too long. They're not totally unbelievable. They're good enough, and I think they're very sincere. I don't think they tried getting so much blood out of a stone. They copped out on it.
No.
Have you seen better fights than other ones? Maybe, but I still thought it was pretty good.
I thought as far as the fight scenes go, it's the same thing you're getting in Kickboxer. Whenever they showed the compilation scenes where we were fighting the rounds, it's the exact same you're getting. So I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, this sucks or this is better. It was just enough where, hey, you want to focus on the main two guys at the end. You want to have Draco, and then you want to have the main guy, Michael Rivers, fight the good guy versus bad guy, And the bad guy, he said, is pretty ripped, and but he always comes after watching what was it, Tulsa King, the last season. He looks like Cole a little bit, in a sense. And then what's crazy about this movie too is as I just got done watching another movie with Sean William Scott, and every time I close my eyes, I'm like, oh my God, it's the good guy. He looks like Sean William Scott a little bit with the beard and everything,
right?
Back in his prime.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I was watching Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
It's a guilty pleasure of mine. But what's shout out to people popping up in the chat here. We got Darth Kato's here too. We've been talking a little bit too. Marani's here to support.
It was mentioning because
Starry Night.
What people have gone to in martial arts filming and action scenes too, which is kind of interesting. You go back to Jason Bourne for whatever. When Jason Bourne, and I think it's in the second film, might be the third, where he jumps from one building to another, and you see the camera shot from behind him. You don't see that, and that was kind of new at the time. So the handhelds that people use a lot, they do a lot of all over the shoulder stuff. And I will tell you, I've been pleading almost with you, almost demanding of you, but just putting the seed out there to you, RDV, is that the show Bloodhounds now, this Korean show, every episode is like 40, 45 minutes long, and half of it's this huge long fight. And they have these incredible choreography things under the people just take an ass beating, and they're very creative, but it's all those handheld camera shots. But what I love about it is there's a way where you can kind of turn and pivot, but not cut to another camera angle to see the finish of it. And Chuck Norris used to mention a lot about being able to see the action and all that too. And in the 70s and 80s, when you had these martial arts things, you got to see it. And the ninja thing and stuff, that's great. But this film does a great job of capturing that, because we're not there about the plot. We're not there about the one guy having a nightmare going, man, if he doesn't kill me, I can't beat him. When your match is up, I'll go sneak underground and go try to find them and all that too. And it was funny because when they go to rescue the three girls that are all locked up in the cage, and Qissi gets down there, and then they kind of get in a fight, and they get a tag team a little bit. Hey, the old people get a chance to beat up another one from their generation. I popped for that, right? And then I thought, honestly, it's not that kind of movie, but if it were, I would have been satisfied with it. I thought the girls were going to strangle him, like with a garrote or something or whatever. But what it was is when he got up against the bars, they ended up handcuffing him and all that too, and locking him. They didn't kill him. And I thought that would have been cool to see them.
Like girls, women in cages.
Well, because we don't know what's going on with them, right? I mean, so
the 90s movies, yeah.
But it's a movie where there's a few violent punches and finishes and kicks. I still think this reminds me a lot of like Kickboxer and Bloodsport, in that a younger kid could watch it and not be offended and get the idea of it.
It was a combination of No Retreat or No Surrender, Bloodsport, and Kickstarter. That was their goal. To pay tribute to those kind of movies, and also give the new generation to see these actors, and maybe they'll be inspired to go back if they haven't watched those movies. I definitely, if before doing this channel, I had no interest in going seeing No Retreat, No Surrender.
Right. Or Canon Films. You probably didn't know what that was.
Well, I knew what it was. As I said, I wasn't a big Chuck Norris fan, as to say. I watched his other movies like Missing in Action, but I never really went back and watched his other stuff. I didn't know he was tied with Canon either. So as far as that part. But for me though, I said like this was actually done with respect. Being a fan film, and his thing, this was made without Hollywood and all that stuff. So they even got money from the people who suck the movies for Hollywood and stuff. Capelight Pictures donated to their thing, so they're gave them like a big chunk of change. So as I said, it was actually nice to see that they actually got some support, and it wasn't just like a shitty, crappy, movie. Because they had took time, they had someone come out and actually write it, and it was actually a good script. It was written by Sean David Lowe, and also the director Ross W. Clarkson. Ross Clarkson, apparently, I look at his IMDb stuff. He did Dead Heat in 2002.
Okay.
Which had a few actors in there too. The Anthony Elapinga and Kiefer Sutherland, Rada Mitchell. He also directed Ninja, 2009.
Yep, that's got Scott Adkins, I believe.
Yeah, or he actually, so he didn't.
There's a bunch of ninja movies.
He wrote it. He wrote it. He didn't direct it though. So bad. Take it back. He wrote it. He wrote a lot of these. He also wrote for The Mechanic 2005. That's the Dolph Lundgren one.
Mm-hmm.
The 350 DVD ones. Undisputed 2, Last Man Standing, another fighting movie.
So he
Derailed.
knows these movies.
Derailed with Van Damme. Marines. Yeah. Victim in 1999. Suspect. And he's done a lot of these stuff. He shot Ninja, Shadow Tear. He wrote that too. Sniper, Never Back Down, No Surrender. He wrote that one. And so this guy has been writing a lot of cool stuff. He's not the biggest name, but like I said, this is a guy who's familiar with these movies and put his blood, sweat, and tears here. Apparently there was some drama that he was not allowed to be involved in post-production or something. I'm not sure what that was all about, but yeah, they're talking about a little bit.
Well, here a couple comments on this too, because what this film is, I mean, it is what it is. It's enjoyable. I agree with you. It's worth watching.
Yeah.
I will say this, but the bigger picture, if I take a step back and look at this, I hate to bring this up, and I have no problems with sequels and all that. Are they great or whatever like that? No, but sometimes they're watchable. Sometimes you get into it and people can put their spin on them. And a lot of times they just aren't, they don't live up to it. We know this, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of with a mixed bag, even if you repeat stuff like Halloween's and all these other ones. This is not the first movie I think that was crowdfunded that we watched, and one of them would be Samurai Cop 2.
3.
They went back to the well.
Yeah.
They had a bigger budget, and it did not work. For whatever reason, it failed, in my opinion, watching it. This movie does not. So I appreciate, because I think the word respect that you said sums this movie up. It's respectful. It does what it does. And remember, Cynthia Rothrock's fine. She's, probably 68, 69 years old when this is filmed, in her late 60s. Same with Billy Blanks. They don't have to do it. I'm sure they did it. I'm sure they got paid for it. I'm sure there are things to it. But when you can pick and choose to do this and you do it on your own, you have got creative freedom for it. You have to involve Hollywood. Sometimes because of that respect is why people get attached to it. And so there's an earnestness or sincereness to it that comes across. And if you're not familiar with the 80s action movies, which I always tell everybody that this channel is based off of, despite we do a lot of other things, is that there is a heart to it, and it is there. And the score definitely makes me feel it. Watching the fights, I go, this feels familiar, but it's still done well. It's not boring. Yeah. It's not anything new.
Here's the great thing about this.
Yeah, it's definitely
if you're unsure about watch or pay, I want to pay money for this. It's on Tubi for free. And if you're watching through your laptop or your PC that has ad block, you can skip all the commercials.
Yeah, Darth K was talking about how he's got Ninja with Scott Adkins.
Yeah,
I remember telling you when we were doing canon films before how the Ninja trilogy from canon to me is the three greatest Ninja films of all time. The first one with Franco Nero is the second best. Their sequel, the second one with Sho Kosugi, that is by far the best Ninja movie. And then the third one, The Domination's pretty damn cool too. So I went back and I kept seeing this guy's face, and I'm like, I'm seeing him on all these B films, right? I'm seeing him with Dolph Lundgren and Universal Soldiers. I'm seeing him in these other things and all that. And it's this guy, Scott Adkins. So I said, okay, he's doing all these Ninja films. I don't know what they are. I don't know who this guy is. Let me watch it from there. So I watched Ninja, the Shadow of the Tears ones. There's a couple of them. I think we did another one random that had Sho Kosugi's son in it a year or two ago. And because I still want to see that stuff, that stuff is still cool.
Here's the thing about Scott Adkins. I never was really sold on until I watched Ninja. I've seen him in other movies. I saw him, I think he was in one of the Predator movies sequels.
Yep.
He's in that too. And I just, before that, we saw him in John Wick 4 or 3.
I think 4, he was killer. And he had the
fat bodysuit. Yeah.
Thanks. We have ourselves quite a predicament. With the Taylor. And that's the first time he had charisma, because he's not a bad actor. He's a good-looking guy. He's a fit guy. But he grew up watching like JCVD and all these guys, and that's what made him do it. So to me, Scott Adkins is the link between what we've loved and what I grew up on and what exists now, because who else is there?
Yeah, you got to start.
A lot of Donnie Yen. We've covered a lot of Jet Li. We've covered some Jet Li. We've covered some Amy Johnston. We'll cover any of it, right? But I still think Scott Adkins, hopefully his best martial arts stuff is still in front of him.
Scott Adkins getting a start in Universal, I think it was 3 or 4. One of the actually no, I think it was 4. It was one of the very low budget ones, the ones that I think is one of the most unwatchable movies. Unfortunately, though, that's the movie that he's in that though. But I'd rather watch the one with Goldberg. that's how bad some of these movies are when they do sequels. even though they have JCVD in there and they even have Dolph Lundgren. But when you lose the charisma or what these characters are, and you just have like a totally different tone of a character, I don't want to see Van Damme as a villain to that much. Van Damme's always been the good guy. Seeing him as a villain, and then you have your good guy is a nobody. It just ruins the movie for me because you're going there for Van Damme, but that's a totally tired subject though. But Kato, watch Ninja. We reviewed it on the channel here, so watch the movie. It should be available still on Tubi.
Probably.
And then watch that. Go check out our review and leave a comment down below that. But getting back to this movie though, this was a very pleasant surprise for this. I give this out of 5 stars. I give it 4.5 actually, because the music helps it too. The acting was not bad. It was a subpar because when you find out this is a vehicle was meant for Adrian. It's not Adrian. I was gonna say Adrian Brody. That's the other guy. Scott Adkins. And you got this other guy kind of steps in. He does an okay job. He can do the kicks and stuff, but for the most part, though, this was very enjoyable and very much similar to watching Bloodsport or Kickboxer. You're just missing Van Damme, but here's the thing: when Van Damme did those movies, he was nobody too. He had no idea who this is. So maybe this guy, Matthias Hues, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe he'll go well, and then maybe we'll start doing. Or actually, no, sorry, it's Mathis Landwehr. I think maybe he'll do some more stuff. Maybe not with Hollywood. And here's the thing too. I don't just because someone's not over in American Hollywood does not mean that they're not a good actor. There's so many shit actors in current Hollywood today right now that I decided to pass up. Especially when it comes to some of the action movies, I'm like, okay, whatever. Right now, it's no secret that Hollywood is being carried by stars from the 80s and the 70s.
Well, the tentpole movies are big. The production output of Hollywood's decreased dramatically, and that's all forms: commercials, televisions, big movies, and all that. So, I've always appreciated the smaller, more nimble, flexible, lower budget type approaches that you can do. That's just how I roll. I like that singular vision that somebody has, because here's the thing. There was that thing 25 years ago where the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, how everybody's related and stuff. And, if you've got any sort of interest in science at all, I highly recommend looking up Connections, a show that was on PBS back in the day, British guy, wrote some books and all that phenomenal stuff. And his was about how somebody having a toothpick over here led to the invention of this over here, which led to World War I and stuff like that. James Burke is his name. Phenomenal stuff. And it's amazing because you never know when somebody watches a movie and goes, like we're able to do now with YouTube and IMDb, and go, I don't know why, but I just like this kind of song. What is it? Is it on Spotify? And so you look it up on YouTube, right? Or you look it up on IMDb, and then you're like, hey, this guy's kind of hot, or this woman's kind of hot, or hey, that was kind of a cool move. And then you go, oh, I was inspired by that. Then they go back and watch it, because the one thing with younger people that when I'm talking to about movies, they act like everything they've seen is brand new. And you're like, Kumite, yeah, that's not a new name. I mean, it's been around forever, right? Ninjas aren't new. But when you start going, oh, let me check out the Scott Adkins ninja movies. Oh, there were some from Canada. Let me check those out. Oh, there were some, maybe 10, 15 years earlier in Japan that nobody's ever heard of because they're really small. Yeah. How many ninja movies are there? Not a lot. Oh, there was a ninja TV show in the 80s with Lee Van Cleef. Are you kidding me? Yes, there was.
I want to talk about Mike DiVecchio. He's been on NXT, started over in TNA. Now he's with the WWE doing wrestling over there.
Talk about the jacked fighter here.
The jacked fighter here, the guy here on the left here. In the
massive
top
individual.
Yeah. Fantastic actor, by the way. Usually when we get people from WWE, they got the quality of like Triple H being in a movie with a bunch of kids and can't act, even though he does acting every day on back in the day.
This guy looked the role, didn't he?
Yeah, this guy
Flexen just yelled, yeah.
He didn't come off like Rusev and Miro overacting. He actually did pretty well. And here's the thing: he doesn't have to do. He can be a man of few words. I prefer that for bad guys. I just say I'm going to break you, like Dolph Lundgren did. He didn't talk too much. When he was Drago. This guy comes off. He comes out a little bit of douchey. He's very self-confident. Obviously, the last time he was fighting against somebody, he killed him. And Billy Blank's talking up his character too, saying how lethal this guy is. You gotta be careful on him, and it just
You like
really
when he
built.
ripped that dude's nose off? That was pretty cool.
No.
Yeah. What about this scene where the guy gets the eyeball
Well,
ripped out and his opponent eats it?
well, did you know it's a nose hold bar match? No.
Ha 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 ha
Ha
ha.
ha ha. No, but I see what you did there.
Yeah. No,
No,
I
I said it. I said
it's
it.
worth it, right? It was surprisingly good to me. I didn't know what to expect. I was hoping it was just, even though
Yeah.
Cynthia's only got maybe not that much screen time, she doesn't get too
I
visible here. It was good
here's
enough.
here's the thing. I saw Cynthia Rothrock attach this. I was like, oh, maybe the title I should put. Normally we put the date, and then after I put like whoever the main actors in here. I didn't put anyone in there because this is not a Cynthia Rothrock movie. She has a small part here. This movie speaks for itself. The two guys on the cover and the thumbnail, that's their movie, and they make it their movie. Billy Blanks, being here, it was like it distracted me a little bit. I was like, man, this is Billy Blanks. Like I can't see
I love it. It's Billy Blanks.
but it kind of like felt like a little bit like Rocky a little bit. It's like it's like you can't do it. Throw the towel in. No, but yeah.
Here's the thing: when they have the fight, and then they have the B plot going on, rescuing the girls and going out of that, they're doing it simultaneously. And they did a good job of going back and forth, where they didn't stay on either of those action sequences too long. So you felt like it was building right to a conclusion, which is important, right? You have your breaks in there to kind of reload, then to get more intense as it builds toward the final fight. So at the final fight, once he wins, they got raided by undercover cop guy. And then the evil Steve Perry, decides to run off. And of course, he wears nothing but silk gentleman's robes. And he has the whores on each arm, which is kind of funny because they're skanks, right? And so they like leave or disappear or whatever. So he leaves. And this is so stupid but funny. I love the building that they're at, this castle in Germany, wherever it's at, this little shanky thing or whatever, cobblestones. And he runs through the gate. He runs through the gate. And there happens to be conveniently placed across the gate a machete, right? Machete, as some people would say. And he's running. And so Billy Blanks is chasing after him. So we get the mini fight at the end because he had kidnapped his daughter or whatever. So now his daughter's free and all that. So they get to have their little fight. So we get to see Billy Blanks get a little action there at the end too. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. That was a little like cherry on the top there, what I wanted to see. I thought that was cool. Yeah.
So you remember the original Bloodsport was in Kowloon City, Lone City. So made it, this was just so, even though this movie was not in New York, it had opening scenes in New York City and stuff like that. And then the rest of it was shot in Bulgaria.
Yep.
Eastern Europe, So I thought that was actually interesting too, because this is more outside. They showed a little bit of like almost like a castle or kind of structure like this,
Just like an old farmhouse.
Yeah. And then they had old cellar and stuff where they lock people up. It's a little different than what you normally get with a movie based off these three films. So it's just, guys, this could have been a lot worse, but I did like the fighting location for this.
Me too.
I thought it was done well. We even get the training scenes.
Super important.
The training scenes where he's on top of the wall with Billy Blanks. It was done pretty well. Now of course it wasn't like Bloodsport where he traveled to this other little village, and it was filming there and doing the kicks and stuff like that. No, this is a little bit different though. But overall, I thought this was a very, very well done movie. It shocked the heck out of me, especially. And what really helped the set for me is that Stan Bush returns, does the song, and it was also Paul Hostag, I think his name is.
Was it Hertzog? I don't even know.
Hertzog, yes.
Okay.
Paul Hostag, he's the guy. Yeah. No. I'm
gonna connect this to something, and I'm gonna make it make sense.
Yeah.
The most recent trailer of a movie that I saw where I'm like, take my money, is Godzilla Minus Zero. And the reason why is because the very last thing with Godzilla Minus Zero, he's walking and they're shooting up, looking upwards towards his face and his torso as he's going from, I think it's left to right. And to get that sense of scale, he walks by the Statue of fucking Liberty. And the reason why that's awesome is because Godzilla Minus One, honestly, I don't even think it's close. It's one of the best movies in the past 5 to 10 years, period, even though it's not an American film. Phenomenal, very dark movie. Godzilla's best when he's made as an allegory about the evils of nuclear war and, of course, America, nuking us, right? Not as a goof. But when I go back to Gareth Edwards' version of 2014, it's pure art with Godzilla, and I still think that's the best Godzilla film because they do a halo jump in there, and then there's a scene where Godzilla like comes out of the smoke and clouds and you don't hear anything. It's just the framing of it. it's the best use of CGI that I've seen because a lot of the action with CGI doesn't do it justice. So when you have a super low budget movie like The Last Kumite and all that, and older people that don't perform physically as much as they do anymore, everything else is still important. But to your point, they're in Bulgaria, they're on some cobblestone farm or whatever like that, and some indoor thing and all that. But you feel like you're there. They show you the locations as they're setting up so you know where they're at in your mind. And a lot of times people will not show the location to make you feel like you're in there and play with your brain that way. And so, like I said, this movie's done very professionally. I agree with you totally on it. Any other final thoughts?
Crazy about this, Ron Hall Hall is the bad guy here. That's the main actor. The character. It's Matthias's character. He was he's an old guy. He said he's the Steve Perry kind of look at time. He's got the long hair, almost like Raiden a little bit. He's got a cane as he walks around, and when they round up all the guys there, the one guy's like, "This is bullshit. I'm gonna do this." Another guy joins him. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kick your ass. You know, my wife, my daughter." What does he do? How does he respond? Shoots in the guy in the head. And I said, like, this just shows he's a complete psychopath. Doesn't care. His whole point was that he wanted to put this match on. He has people that are gonna make money off this. He's got gamblers coming in. So he doesn't care. It's okay. I've got other rest and all the guys I can bring in. I thought that him being a heavy in this, being the bad guy, worked out really well.
Yes.
Kind of get like a Rutger Hauer a little bit. Vibes from him a little bit. I can't really trust him as much. And at the end, we even get to see a little happy ending in this movie. And I'll just say this, but Billy Blank's gets a chance to shine going against Matthias Hues, at the end here. And a little fight scene with a machete, but I thought it was really well done. And it said filming on scene. I didn't really see any CGI really much in here at all. I just saw a lot of this actors doing their own stunts because they are martial artists. And if you respect for the original actors, Cynthia Rothrock and a lot of these other guys here, you're gonna like this too. It's just this is them. And Cynthia Rothrock wouldn't have got involved unless it was really respectful to their yesteryear as far as the movies they did back in the day. This felt like it was shot like the same way they would have done it back in the late 80s, early 90s.
100%.
Yes, and there's a lot of respect and love put in this film. And so honestly, if I can find this on DVD, I probably will. I'll probably look up Capelight. They probably have it on Steel Box or whatever, because Capelight actually didn't. The only reason they put money in this is after that time Kickboxer and Bloodsport, they released those on the Steel stuff. They realized, oh my gosh, people still like this stuff, and they saw this was being done. They said, well, fuck it, we're gonna put money into this.
People want to see fighting.
Yeah. So like I said, it's worth every penny. I don't know if I want to pay $30 for it, but I'll probably give if it's down to like $15-10, I'll buy it on Blu-ray. But like I said, is it worth watching? Yes, 100%. But if you've never seen Bloodsport, No Retreat, No Surrender, heck, you can skip No Retreat, No Surrender. You can skip that, but watch Kickboxer and Bloodsport, and then come back and watch this.
Yes.
And guess what? Bloodsport and Kickboxer are also available on DVD, Blu-ray, but they're also available on Tubi. I was actually able to go pick them up. My friend had who passed away. He was a comic book shop owner. They're selling his collection. And I was like, well, cool. So I got Kickboxer, which I think I already had this on Blu-ray. So I just picked it up again for like $5.
Right.
Well, then I saw this, the Bloodsport Time Cop combo.
Nice.
I couldn't pass it up. I was like, Time Cop's on this and Bloodsport, which are arguably his best movies to me.
True.
Yeah. And then I also got Death Warrant because it was there too. So why not?
We'll cover that at some point. You know what else is on Tubi, sir?
What's that?
It's season 2, episode 3 of Forever Night. Nick Knight, the vampire, aggressively from the 90s.
Nickelodeon, the Night
television that wants to get out. Yeah, he. It's a different episode, a different season. It's a different feel than season 1. It's actually a little darker and more serious, and I kind of like it. Some interesting developments.
Are you saying
Eastern? What's that?
Are you saying they went the Miami Vice route?
Well, when Miami Vice shifts tone and gets a little darker, that's what's happening right now in Forever Night.
Yeah.
Jeanette's not smiling.
I'm just saying. I hope
that dude's back. I'm just saying.
It's an early Canadian show with a vampire who's a detective. David Boreanaz can go eat your heart out, bro. We know Josh Whedon watched this show and decided I'm gonna make a character based off this. And he said, you know what? I'm gonna do a spinoff. I'm gonna do I'm gonna call it Angel, and he's gonna be a detective, just like Nick at Night. And yeah, you can tell it's heavily inspired.
You know those shows more better than I do, but I will tell you, this is the first time that a vampire's been played somewhat progressively, somewhat kind of like, I hate to say anti-violent because it's not that he's not, but he's doing everything he can not to do vampire-y stuff. I mean, and you can talk about the shift in the 90s with Anne Rice and her movies getting big and all that, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt. This movie did it first.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's like the Brad Pitt with Tom Cruise's Lestat, I asked this because I haven't watched the Caesar series yet. Has he had a rival vampire come in that knows him from his past?
He destroys him in, I think it's episode 1 or 2 of season 1.
Wow, that early on? Wow.
But he's one of the original vampires from way back and has now come back. And I don't know how. And the dude looks funny, but the guy's a great actor, and he's got oodles of charisma.
That's great.
You don't see him often.
Well, yeah, the main actor for
he's as Buffy would say, Master. Good night, everybody.
Ryan Thomas.
Master. I've been waiting to use that. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Here,
hey guys know the drill. If you haven't done so, please click like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of this movie. And if you have any thoughts or for movies martial art movies that we should review, let us know down in the comment section. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. East, and 8 p.m. Central for Forever Night. Later, guys. Thanks for watching.